may I request all of you to please put your mobile disturbs the interaction and the talk that is taking. Thank you. Yeah, we have permission to begin, sir. Thank you. Dr. Rajkumar Singh, Honorable Minister of Moses Chalai, Secretary Northeastern Council, Pagla, Chairman Northeast, CII's Northeast Council. CII's Northeast Council is also the Managing Director of Amrit Cement, a very well-known brand in the Northeast.
Dr.S.Jaishanker, Honorable Minister of External Affairs. Dr. Rajkumar Singh, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs. Mr. K. Moses Chalai, Secretary Northeast Council, Government of India. Mr. Noor Rahman Sheikh, Joint Secretary, Minister of External Affairs. Mr. Sujit Haridas, Deputy Director General, CII. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you all. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the Minister of External Affairs for taking out time and the initiative to organize this program in Manipur, and thank you for providing an opportunity, sir. On behalf of CII, I extend a special welcome to Dr. S. Jaishanker, Honorable Minister of External Affairs. His astute management of Indians' foreign policy has enabled the country to build robust relationships with the rest of the world and has ensured safeguarding India's influence and interests across the globe during the troubled period. Sir, you make all of us Indians proud when you are pitching India in international forums. We have never seen so confident foreign minister ever. I extend a warm welcome to Dr. Rajkumar Singh, Honorable Minister of State for External Affairs, Mr. K. Moses Chalai, Secretary, Northeast Council, and Mr. Noor Rahman Sheikh, Joint Secretary, Minister of External Affairs. In India's growth journey, the Northeastern region plays a crucial role, a rich survivor of culture, heritage, and natural resources. It contributes around 3% of India's GDP, accounting 7.8% of country's land area. The region has a potential to develop into a commercial and manufacturing hub. Further, the strategic geographic location of the Northeast makes it India's gateway to Southeast Asia, Bhutan, Japan, Nepal, and Bangladesh. Focused efforts by Honorable Prime Minister under the Act East policy have helped promote all-round development of the region, which has the potential to emerge as dynamic economic hub, not just for the country, but for the region economies. The trade potential of the region derives from its strengths in agro and forest produce, mining and minerals, and services-based industries. Initiatives such as developing Stivay Port in Myanmar, access to Chittagong Port in Bangladesh, improving the rail, road, air facilities, telecom and internet connectivity, and development of inland waterways are strengthening the connectivity of the region with neighboring countries and rest of India.
Dr. R.K. Ranjan Singh ji, Shri Pradeep Pagla, Chairman CII, Northeast Council, Shri Noor Rahman Sheikh, Joint Secretary MEA, and all the distinguished participants. In a very brief period to highlight and to underline a few critical needs of the region. This could be very challenging, but nevertheless I'll try my best. Sir, the region indeed is witnessing a repeat in development, especially in infrastructure development. In the last 7, 8, and 9 years, it has been tremendous, and we all are witness to that. For instance, the 10% GBS, gross budgetary support from non-exempted ministries and the departments of Government of India, has risen from about 34,000 crores per annum in 2013-14 to 76,000 crores this current financial year. Definitely, such level of investment bring a lot, on the ground. All the ministries are doing their best and bit, and sir, ABN is also doing much for the region in terms of the putting in place the relationship with the neighboring countries, security, and even as important as matters like passport, providing passport facilities to the citizens in the region. It's something that we have been witnessing. But at the same time, it's quite another parallel story that the economic transformation is not correspondingly happening. And because of this, lakhs and millions of youths are migrating from the region to other parts of the country, many of them just to earn enough to keep the body and souls together. Nothing much they're earning. So therefore, this has become a matter of much concern, and it has been now repeatedly, everyone is now, including the Honorable Prime Minister, HM, everyone is beginning to highlight the need of the economic transformation to happen alongside with the infrastructural development. Unemployment, sir, is high. In fact, I'm told that Nagaland has the highest level of unemployment, followed by Manipur.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is a pleasure to welcome Honorable External Affairs Minister and my senior colleague in this interactive event today. I thank CII and Economic Diplomacy Division of the Ministry of External Affairs for this initiative. Sir, the business community of Northeast and Manipur in particular is eager to hear and draw inspiration from you. We are mesmerized by the way you defend and progress our national interests in the international arena, not only our security and strategic interests, but also your leadership role in furthering our economic interests globally. As I mentioned a while ago, Manipuris have originally developed or organically developed, made a mark and created a brand value for themselves. In the hospitality and caregiving sectors, these sectors need to by push for international partnership now to enable our youth to reap their full potential. Similarly, sir, we are also proud of our sporting prowess and achievement. International partnerships in all these sectors will help our youth immensely to realize their full potential. I'm sure the business community of my state and the Northeast will appreciate any guidance on this immensely. Friends from business community, Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji is committed to proactive government policy. Northeast is dear to his heart. No other Prime Minister in this country has been committed like him in his vision to take governance and service delivery to last mile and person. It was the Honorable Prime Minister's desire that ministers from his government should regularly visit Northeast to know and understand their issues, ensure delivery of government services in the region. In this context, also, we are happy to have my senior minister here today. I am extremely thankful that Honorable Minister was very gracious to spare 2 days from his extremely busy schedules to visit Manipur. We will try our best to ensure that your visit is meaningful, productive, and memorable both to you and the participant. Friends, Honorable Prime Minister envisions Northeast to be the new engine of growth for India. To achieve this, Modi's government has ramped policies and introduced numerous. His government has invested in many infrastructure projects, upgraded old one and built new one. The simple fact that Prime Minister has introduced his ministries to visit Northeast often goes on to show that development of Northeast is front and center in his mind. PM Divine NE also projected to have an outlay of over 6,600 crores for 4-year period from 2022 to 2026. These are meant for creation of infrastructure to support industries, social development projects, and create livelihood activities for youths and women. They will generate employment. To leverage this domestic attention that we are getting, we need to look at international partnership, especially given the fact that 99% of the border of Northeast region are international border. International partnership can be a force multiplier for us, be they in sector like hospitality and caregiving, sport or commercial farming, or food processing or healthcare. Sir, our businesses are ready to grab the opportunity of international partnership. I believe MEA can play a role in helping them achieve that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm eagerly looking forward to listen to you and for your guidance. Jai Hind.
Ministerial colleague Dr. Rajkumar Ranjan Singh, Mr. Pradeep Bagla, Mr. Moses Chalai, my colleague Noor Rahman Sheikh, friends, ladies, gentlemen. It's really for me a very great pleasure to be here in Imphal, and it's a promise I think I made about 15 months ago. I made that promise to my ministerial colleague when he, had just joined as Minister of State, and he asked me whether I'd been to Manipur, and said, somewhat defensively that I had not, and he said, you must come. So first of all, I want to thank him today. He has been really, for many ways, the person who's encouraged me and pushed me to come. I would have happily come. I mean, it is just partly COVID has been such a problem for all of us. And the two of us had to be in the country on the same day for this visit to happen, and that had its own challenges. Now, I listened very carefully to what Mr. Moses Chalai said. I think he made two very important points. One, the extent of support and commitment and activity that is taking place today in the Northeast, including Manipur, is really unprecedented. But at the same time, I think he very legitimately raised the other aspect of it, which is, the external access, the recognition of products, the fact that when you look at the foreign trade volume, it is still there's still a long way to go, and I think that's absolutely a valid point, and it is in fact the challenge for which all of us are gathered here today. You would have all heard of our Act East policy. Before that it was called Look East policy. And about a decade ago, in fact, it used to be said that, instead of India looking east or acting east, maybe Delhi should look east and act east first. And in this last decade, it is actually today the vision, the leadership, the commitment of the Prime Minister, which my colleague Ranjanji spoke about, that you have today a Prime Minister of India who is absolutely determined that we must make up for lost time and for all the constraints which history has in a sense bequeathed to the Northeast. So a lot of our efforts today is how do we deal with the structural problems that has kept really the Northeast so much at a disadvantage. Now, one part of it, of course, is to improve the connectivity. Improve the connectivity within the Northeast, improve the connectivity from Northeast to other parts of India. But the part where we come in, the Ministry of External Affairs, is clearly in trying to ensure that there are ways by which there's a better access to global markets and global opportunities for the people and businesses of the Northeast. Now, even I must say, even within the Northeast, actually, we do play a role. 5 years ago, in fact, we created a forum for one particular partner who was exceptionally committed here, which was Japan. So we had created something called the Act East Forum, and a number of projects have taken place under the aegis of the Northeast, of the Act East Forum, and they are financed by the Overseas Development Assistance of Japan. And I would really encourage the government of Manipur really to take full advantage of that. I know right now, my understanding is that there are 2 projects under discussion, but I have myself been to other states and seen some fairly impressive initiatives which have which are there on the ground. So I would say, as a ministry which has oversight over that forum, please do really explore the opportunities there. Now, in terms of external access, obviously the 2 countries which are immediately relevant are Bangladesh and Myanmar. And with both of them, we are trying in different ways to improve connectivity and to improve business, including creating opportunities on the border, border hearts for border located businesses to happen. But also to see that whether our overall trade with these 2 neighbors can increase. Now, some of the frustrations which Mr. Moses Chalai voiced, I have certainly felt it from him, and obviously what I would be doing when I go back to Delhi is to request my colleagues dealing with Bangladesh to see what are the specific concerns here. Are there steps we should take to broaden the basket of goods that can be traded? But to my mind, unless we have connectivity, there cannot be trade without connectivity. And border state here, but in respect of Bangladesh, but if the regional connectivity actually improves, I think that is something clearly that Manipur can tap into. And if you look today with Bangladesh, our rail connection, our road connection, our waterway connection, all these have grown. we are trying to negotiate more smooth and obstacle-free movement of trucks and other logistics, also railway wagons. We are trying to see whether we can mutually use each other's ports so that Bangladesh has more ports also in southeast India to access, and our northeastern states have the opportunity to access Chattogram and Mongla. So where Bangladesh is concerned, I do want to assure you, especially after the land boundary agreement, the level of confidence, the level of cooperation, the possibilities there, those have clearly grown. Having said that, I know it is hard work. I know that trade doesn't take place without a lot of effort and very hard negotiation. So that is something which will have to be done. But I can assure you that from the side of the central government and the Ministry of External Affairs, we will not just be supportive, we will be exceptionally supportive, because I think the situation warrants that. Where Myanmar is concerned, there are two big connectivity projects we are working on. One is the Sitwe port, and this is the Kaladan project. And the challenge there, as I think many of you know, the port has been created, but the road building to the port is posing huge challenges. It is also a part of Myanmar where there have been, not just now, but for some years now, some, I would say, law and order challenges, insurgency challenges, and that has definitely slowed down the work. The other big project, of course, which we are working on is the India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway. And there too, we've had problems. I'm quite candid about it. We've had problems in India in terms of work execution. We've had problems in Myanmar because of access and local mobilization issues. But we are hopeful that probably a more capable set of players on our side will take charge of this project by the end of the year and see how we move forward. Now, obviously, given the political situation in Myanmar, this is a challenge for us. So today for us, one of the primary reasons why we are engaging the authorities in Naypyidaw is precisely to advance this connectivity, this set of connectivity projects really, because some of them, one of them is a road and one of them is a set of 69 bridges. How do we really move this forward? Because if we can actually get physical connectivity through Myanmar to Thailand, and then beyond Thailand, already countries like Vietnam and Cambodia are showing interest. How do they link up from that side? It will actually be a game changer. So because we see that potential, it is something that we are actually prioritizing. We're putting all our efforts into seeing how can we, in a sense, break the current gridlock. Having said that, I also want to point out that there are two other neighbors who also offer business possibilities, Nepal and Bhutan. They may not be that proximate to you, but if we actually think of the entire region in a sense as a kind of a hub, if you think of a region as a hub where you really have Nepal, Bhutan on one side and Myanmar and Bangladesh below, and ASEAN a little bit beyond, I think it's important really to have that larger picture in mind, so that especially when it comes to building logistics and to put in place regimes to move this logistics, that to my mind would be very, very helpful. Let me switch gears and talk about something a little bit different, but which also has a strong economic implication. And that is with regard to tourism. We are a country whose tourism potential is perhaps, in terms of what we have, whether it's nature or whether it is human talent, whether it is heritage, we have really underutilized our potential, under-leveraged our potential. And for some time now, Prime Minister has been actually pushing what he calls the 3 Ts, which is trade, technology and tourism, as the yardsticks by which he, in a sense, he sets for his own government, but also for all of us, in a way, to measure our performance. So we are today extremely keen to see how do we actually maximize tourism. And tourism also, like trade, requires connectivity, because at the end of the day, tourists have to find it convenient to reach places. Remote locations may look very good in a video, but you will never get the kind of footfalls which they truly deserve. So our effort today is to use the G20. The G20 presidency, which we will be assuming on the 1st of December. One part of it is to say, in international relations, it is a big moment. We are heading an important body. We have an opportunity to shape the agenda along with our other partners. But the other side of it is, if we actually, in a sense, depart from the traditional way of doing, these presidencies and summits, which is normally they happen in the capital of a country. So this time around, Prime Minister is very, very determined that it will be marked throughout the country, that we will use it as an opportunity to present India to the world, to bring foreigners, officials, civil society, political leaders, students to our country, to every part of our country, and to show them really what it is. And I can tell you by my own experience, I remember 2 years ago, Italy was then the G20 president. And the foreign ministers meeting of the G20 was not held in Rome, it wasn't held in a big city. It was actually held in a tourist place. I had to Google it to find out where it was. I'm a very well-traveled person. Of course, later on I discovered it was also the location where James Bond, the last movie, was shot. And I happened to even stay in the same hotel where James Bond was staying before me. But the point at issue was, they actually took remote locations and organized events there, so that actually got people going there. And after I went there, I can tell you for a few months I spoke about nothing else to my colleagues. I went and told them, we all go to Rome, but nobody ever goes to these places. This is like I would say southeastern Italy, and that's not a particularly frequented place. So my own personal experience is really how opportunities like G20 can be used to promote tourism. Now, related to that is, of course, this big push we are making for one district, one product. Again, there are many countries who have done very well with it by putting local products and local traditions forward. You have to go today to Thailand or to Indonesia to see really how well they have marketed it. So between stronger tourism and a greater promotion of local culture and local heritage, we do believe that there are big possibilities here. And the fact is, if you again look today at the size of the tourism industry, it is actually one of the biggest industries, one of the biggest economic activities in the world. That there are countries, big countries, for whom 25-30% of their entire GDP actually comes from earning out of tourism. So this is something, again, I would say for the region as a whole, but I would particularly for the state, I feel is something we should look at. The other point which I wanted to make is about people, because again, the point was made that the opportunities to work are not there, and I think it's a valid point. After all, one of the purposes of Atmanirbhar Bharat is to create an economic model which is employment focused. Till now what was happening, people were really looking at GDP growth as frankly the only yardstick of whether we are doing well or not. Now you can have a big spike in the GDP without necessarily a spike in employment. I mean, all you have to do, which actually was happening, is to import a lot of goods from some other big country, which one I'm talking about, and then use that to actually expand our businesses. Whereas what we had not done was really to build our own supply chains, to build our own MSMEs, so that, and that's a hard way of doing business, but it is still one today that we need to do. I think from the COVID era, we know COVID era and even the Ukraine conflict era, we know today we cannot be excessively dependent, excessively exposed to the rest of the world. Anytime, it could be a conflict, it could be a pandemic, it could be a climate event. There will be risks to our economy if we are really overly exposed to foreign dependencies. So I want to present to you a picture really where this is changing, and when I speak about addressing the employment problem, one of course is the hard way of creating more businesses in India, but there is also the other side, which is we should think of the world today not only as a marketplace, we should think of the world as a workplace. I have met young people from the state, not just in other parts of India, but in other parts of the world. So when I go to the Gulf, for example, very often people come up to me and tell them I'm from this state or that state, and I've encountered people from Manipur in my travels. So we are today also trying to access the global workplace. We had concluded a set of agreements, unfortunately the COVID came in the way, with Japan for what were called specialized, special skilled workers in a way, in 22 professions. We certainly hope this will pick up because we have to teach them Japanese before we send them out. Those systems are now coming in place. I think the first lot of people have already gone to Japan. But with a number of other countries, we are concluding what we call migration and mobility partnership agreements. We have done this with UK, we have done this with France, we are very, very close to doing it with Germany, with Portugal. So we do want, I was in Australia and New Zealand exploring with them whether it is possible, because in the world where there is demand is not necessarily the place where there is young demographics. So there is a misalignment there, and that misalignment is our opportunity, and I'm sure that the youth of our country, especially those who are comfortable and global in their thinking, they are well poised to exploit this opportunity. So these were some of my thoughts which I wanted to share with you. I very much, of course, value the opportunity to be here, to see things for myself, meet people. But what I do want to assure all of you is that for us, this is a border state. It is a state where the Ministry of External Affairs will take continuous and strong interest. We do understand there are there will be challenges. There will be challenges, as I said, which are historically inherited. There are also challenges sometimes which come out of a situation across the border. But in all of this, my ministry is very, very committed to supporting the economic growth of the entire Northeast region, including the state of Manipur. Once again, really thank you all for coming here today. And I think if there is time, if there's questions, I'll be very happy to respond to any concerns you may have.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Havli. I'm the President of Manipur Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Sir, you have already mentioned that for the economic growth of the state, we need to focus on tourism. And for promoting tourism, we need connectivity. So let me just put one question that is related with the air connectivity. We have in the Northeast India 2 airports which are designated as international airports. That includes Guwahati and Imphal Airport. Other than Guwahati, which has a few flights by Druk Airways connecting Singapore and Bhutan and stop over in Guwahati as a transit. That's the only facility that we have. Now, may I request, if possible, Ministry of External Affairs jointly working with Civil Aviation Ministry to kindly help start the air connectivity by introducing international flights. And that's definitely going to help load in tourism promotion. And we expect that the tourist footfall after the introduction of these international flights will definitely increase in the Northeast region. Thank you, sir.
We are excited and very motivating with your speech. I'm Dr. Palin, a plastic surgeon, and we are running a hospital, super specialty hospital, and recently we have established a medical college. My question will be related with health tourism and wellness tourism. India is emerging as a health tourism destination globally, and Manipur is not an exception. Manipur has 4 medical colleges and dozens of private medical colleges. And we have all the facilities for which people are traveling for medical tourism, like cancer care, heart operation, joint replacement, infertility, cosmetic surgery, dental care, and all those things we have, pain management, spine, and all those things. And coming to the medical tourism, right now we have a patient from Mandalay come for renal transplantation. Patient had go to Yangon to Calcutta, and Calcutta to Imphal. And we're going to operate next week. And recently also same travel, because the situation is because of low load, the port is still. And that is why we would like to request the Mandalay-Imphal connection. It is being planned by the government of Manipur. That is one request. Another thing is, a person from Tamil had to travel to Mandalay to get the visa, because they don't have the online visa, or there is no best visa on arrival. So this is one area we would like to address, because just we can see each other, but they cannot come for this treatment or any other purpose. And third thing, we would like to suggest, as we have a lot of teaching institute, especially our medical college is the first medical college, private medical college in Northern India. We are ready to provide medical seat, MBBS seat to Myanmar national. Through, of course, with the assistance from Ministerial of External Affairs. If the candidates are supported, we are ready to reserve a few seats. And also we have already trained surgeons and nurses from Myanmar, because we have traveled to Mongyan General Hospital, operated there free of cost, 339, cleft lip and palate, keyhole surgery and cataract. There is a huge number of patients, and going to Singapore and Bangkok is 10 times costlier. And the kidney transplant we have done about 4 years back. The budget in Bangkok was 60 lakhs. We have done with 7 lakhs. So this is the area. After this mission Myanmar, they come to know that Manipur is the place where they can undergo the treatment. And before that, they didn't know about Manipur. So they were going to Singapore and Bangkok, those who can afford, that is. So I would like to suggest, we are ready to give the skill development training to the Myanmar national. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. As you rightly said, and my senior colleagues have already pointed out, how to increase the footfall in the state of Manipur and the Northeast. But the actual thing which we have now is we have the inner line permit. So that again is acting as a negative impact on people coming here and then. So how do we deal with this kind of negativity in the bringing people to the state of Manipur in the northeast, at the same time trying to preserve our integrity. Thank you.
Is set up by the government of India. So in the north, all the northeastern 7 states, hill states, so we are having our constituent colleges. So actually our university is planning to for collaboration with the Southeast Asian countries in the field of agriculture, education and researches. But sir, for making the MOU with the other institutes, sir, we are facing some problems. For clearance from the ministry, it is taking some more time, sir. It is taking some long time. And sir, if possible in the whether it will be possible to set up a Southeast Asian knowledge hub at Imphal, so that this collaboration process can be shortened and it can be taken up. Sorry.
In a way, each one of these examples is an indication both of the constraints and our hopes that we will overcome these constraints. On the air connectivity, my own sense is in the last few years, even before the COVID, if you looked at frankly, the health of the civil aviation sector, it was struggling. Hopefully now, with some of the changes that have been made, that we will actually see new resources being put into civil aviation, new energies which come out of it. The airlines themselves willing to, undertake more flights and have the capacity to undertake more flights. I can, completely empathize with what you say, because when I go to Southeast Asia, I can often, I hear the reverse complaint. They are very keen also to have connectivity with the Northeast, but they find that that is not taking place. So I certainly, when I go back, I will sit with my colleague, Mr. Dr.S.Jaishanker, and maybe also flag it to the airlines if it is something that they could look at. Of course, a lot of it will also depend, airlines must have a commercially defensible proposition. And some of it will depend on the air infrastructure, which is improving in the country in leaps and bounds. So, but I have, something I recognize is a problem. On the medical tourism, there is a huge scope in our country generally. If you look at it, actually different parts of India are today involved in drawing medical tourists from their proximate regions. If you go to the Gulf, for example, most of the people in the Gulf go to hospitals in Gujarat and Maharashtra. If you go to Central Asia, most of them go to Delhi. If you look at the Indian Ocean countries, Mauritius, Seychelles, Sri Lanka, Maldives, they all tend to go to Chennai or to Thiruvananthapuram. So to me, it makes absolute sense that we develop, Northeast as a hub for medical tourism, and medical tourism itself, because at the end of the day, it is a comparative skill and a comparative cost business. Where do you get the right skills at a sort of affordable, accessible cost? So, but with regard to Myanmar, you raised some very specific issues. In the case of Imphal, Mandalay, most of the problems have been really the situation. Partly it was COVID, and now the political situation out there. So the Myanmar issues today do present a problem. It's not easy in the given state, because things are not normal there, and that is a challenge for us. And today we are trying to work our way through the challenge, and as an immediate land border neighbor, we have to understand, whatever the politics of that country, and we support the democratic process in that country. But we, as neighbors and as a sort of supportive of the people, people's health or concerns will not stop because the politics is wrong. It's the same challenge where, to some extent, we are facing in Afghanistan as well. That, things may not be good there, but we still have to find ways of keeping the people-to-people relationship going. And in this case, it's an absolutely proximate situation. So what I will do is, in our coming engagements with Myanmar, let me explore some of this. Is there a greater willingness really to make sure that we can have activities across the border, including easier travel. The inner line permit is it's a old issue, but again, I put it this way. I do think that in our country, sometimes very, I would say, traditions and customs need to be reviewed, because time, life changes. What may have been a concern 25, 30 years ago may not be that concern today. I mean, it's important in governance. I mean, one of the things which Prime Minister keeps telling us, keep looking at old laws and ask yourself, is that law still relevant today? So it's not enough to pass new laws for better governance. One part of governance is also to keep revisiting your assumptions and your policies and your legislation, and keep maybe discarding or altering this. But as I said, at the end of the day, I think the fundamental issue is the accessibility to and out of the Northeast. I mean, that is actually at the heart of the economic challenges that the region faces. On the university collaboration, Dr. Ranjan also told me that it's something that we are working on. I would certainly, I can only see merit in having a stronger linkage with Southeastern universities, Southeast Asian universities. And, again, when you think of India, in many ways we are at the center of the Asian continent. We have the ability, one part of India to engage Southeast Asia, one part of it to do the Gulf, one part of it to do the Indian Ocean, one part of India to do Central Asia. And they are the geographically closer parts, the culturally more connected parts. So to me, not just academically, but in every other sense, I think there is a case for a stronger connect. We will look at this particular proposal, and let me see where it is stuck and see if I can find ways of sort of getting it out.
At the grassroots level in Mizoram and Manipur, we have been seeing opportunities for tourism. As far as Manipur is concerned, we have a district called Tamil Nadu, where we have a unique phenomenon of Amur falcons traveling from Siberian region over here. It's a cross-continental movement. You are aware of it. So, Mr. Rajesh is one of our trustee members. He's been trying to connect different continents on his own level. Is there something that the ministry can help to connect? Because this can be a big tourism aspect for Tamil Nadu district, which is already suffering because of non-opportunity levels. The other question is from Seha district, that's Mizoram. Even with Myanmar border being closed, so we were in the Zhangwon region from Zuinbui to Phayatwa, the roads are closed now. We can't do anything. So their elephant foot yam is widely grown. So the villagers asked if we can do something. So the elephant foot yam is dried and sold to Myanmari traders, and these traders are selling it to China. So can we do something so that this is legalized? Because for the authorities it is illegal in smuggling. So if we can do something which is legalized and more people can be part of the whole thing. Thank you, sir.
We have now a number of collaborative programs and initiatives with Southeast Asia. They, in fact, take in a lot of Southeast Asian students for higher education, including PhD. We also have a big connectivity. In fact, we have made a major commitment for connectivity in every sense of the term. I mean, connectivity doesn't necessarily mean physical connectivity.